It's 6:30 p.m. The regular meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item up on the agenda, adoption of minutes from May 15th. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from May 15th?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Discussion, everybody had a chance to look them over. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. We're going to change the public hearing meeting around. The developer's attorney is caught in traffic for Melvin Farms, so can I get a motion to open the public hearing for the battery energy moratorium at 6:31 p.m.?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Okay, the public hearing is open. Just rules of the public hearing, we've just to set the grounds for these two, battery energy storage and solar farm moratorium. We've had these moratoriums going for about 2 years. We are extending them one more time, but we are working on the battery energy law in the next month. The solar farm moratorium, we are referring changes in our town code and laws to our boards, the zoning board and planning board, and also to the Onondaga County Planning Board, which we're required to. If there is anything new that you would like to add, if anybody would like to come up, or if you'd like to make a comment about battery energy storage, in favor or against, or any suggestions to add to our local laws or things you would like to see, feel free to come up to the microphone. And if you're comfortable, state your name. I don't have to state your address.
Okay. Cindy Clark. All I want to do is just reiterate my support of the moratorium. I'd like it to go on forever. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? One more person.
My name is Cal Mara. I am against the moratoriums. I don't know what's taking so long. There's nothing wrong with what they're with solar panels or energy farms or battery storage. I think it should be allowed. People should be allowed to do what they want with their property. It's money to your tax base. You charge a lot more taxes for a solar farm than you do for farmland. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor or against? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing on battery energy moratorium at 6:33 p.m.?
I'll move that. I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Public hearing is closed. Battery energy moratorium. Can I get a motion at 6:34 p.m. to open the public hearing for the solar farm, to extend the solar farm moratorium until September?
I'll move that. I got it.
Okay, Councilman Moore second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll open the public hearing for the solar farm moratorium. Again, if there is anyone in favor or against or suggestions for our local laws, as I had said before, some of our local law updates address solar farm. We've got to send them through the referrals, and that will then probably, well, before September, we should have that information back from our planning boards to hopefully end the solar farm moratorium. It has been extended since April of 2023. Would anybody like to speak in favor or against? Come up to the microphone, please speak, state your name if you're comfortable.
Same comments.
Same as before? Thank you.
I think the battery storage addresses a very real fire risk that we are not equipped to handle in volunteer fire departments. But I wondered if the town board if I would press on the town board to briefly express their concerns about existing solar farm development that led to the moratorium and the change in the laws. What are your main concerns about the way solar farms were springing up in our community under those restrictions that led to these moratoriums? I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Yeager, I know to address those parts, we had installed the solar farm laws, and correct me if I'm wrong, 7 or 8 years ago, I believe. And
2018, I think we started it, I think it got adopted in 19.
okay. And we had noticed with the property, the sizes, acreage, and where they were, and aesthetics on some of our original plans for what the developer would require. Church, I'm not going to hide it. The Church Road Oya Farm, the original Oya Farm, has really come up with the netting, the screening on the fences, which sounded like a great idea when we put it into the code, until the screening falls apart every time the wind blows. So what we're trying to do is address these issues with our current law to get solar, get the aesthetic part, the planning part, fencing, screening to a more acceptable level.
Prime farmland soil protection was the other concern that was brought up.
Right. Because of our lot size, currently, before the moratorium, you could build a solar farm on anything agricultural up to AR 40 and larger, and you had a 20-acre minimum.
Yeah.
So with a 50% lot coverage, one of our suggestions is increasing to 50 acres. And, I don't think we changed any of the minimums or percentage of lot usage. So
Yeah, we did on the prime farmland soils.
for prime farmland.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to address. 7 or 8 years in, we're seeing what the law's done, the shortcomings of it, what we're trying to do to address those. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, seeing no other comments, can I get a motion to close the public hearing for the solar farm moratorium at 6:37 p.m.?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Carried, public hearing closed. Third public hearing of the night. Can I get a motion to continue the public hearing for the Melvin Farms Incentive Zoning Letter of Intent? It's a continuation from May 15th at 6:38 p.m.
I'll open. I'll second that.
Okay. Opening the public hearing for Melvin Farms. Mario has attended. Thank you for coming, Mario.
My pleasure. It's been a while, unfortunately.
Yes, it's good to see you.
Thank you. I'm here to, put on the record the additional agreements that have been reached by Mr. Ken Raymond, the developer, and Al was kind enough to put it in an email, so I'm just going to read it off and just put it in the record. I think that might be the easiest way to go. So as far as the NOI, which I will amend to include these matters, street trees will be planted at a minimum 40 feet interval on both sides of the street after all the infrastructure is installed. Landscaping and rear yard trees will be installed as directed by the planning board during the site plan approval for each phase of the project. A resident walking path through the woods on the west side of the development, that would be lot 7, where a lot of the DEC wetlands are, will be provided. We'll work with the engineer getting a path through there without doing too much damage.
Let's add one more thing. I did take this in there, and I apologize, Mario. The HOA would be responsible for long-term maintenance of that path.
Okay. And the HOA that will be formed for the project will be responsible for the maintenance of building it and maintaining it?
No, maintaining it after it is constructed. So long-term maintenance, if a piece of it washes out, the HOA needs to bring a little bit more stone in and
Gotcha.
fix it up.
Okay.
Or a tree falls across it, or, you know.
All right. Okay, we can agree to that. Parkland fees paid by the developer, which will be sizable, will be utilized exclusively for future Seneca River Trail construction. The benefit to the town will be the difference between the 175 lots that would be permitted under the AR-40 and the 537 doors that this project will now have. Which results in an additional $181,000 for the construction of the Seneca River Trail. The parkland fees will be paid on the single-family lots before the final plat is filed. That's 52 lots.
You're going to do that in sections. You're not going to do that all in one. You're not going to put 52 lots online at once, right?
We can agree to that. It's only 25 grand, right?
Well, 80, you're not going to, I would assume you're not going to put 52 lots on all in one shot. You're going to,
No.
You're going to do it in sections.
The parkland fees for the multifamily structures will be paid prior to certificate of occupancy being issued for each building and for each section, which seems very fair to me.
Right, which is, in a normal subdivision, we wouldn't charge those fees until the subdivision was approved. And
Filed, correct.
And filed, so that would be the same process
Yep.
as a subdivision.
That works?
Yes.
I'll put all of this into the NOI,
Revised NOI. Okay.
and I will resubmit.
Okay.
All right, any questions?
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the Melvin Farms project? And just so the public understands, when we get the revised NOI, we will put that up on our website. And we have a couple other things that we've asked that we're going to work on our end on the town side. Councilor Gerasi had asked about looking at the cost benefits or a cost analysis of what the possible revenue generation would be if this project was built, to get an understanding of what it brings into the town on that end also. So once we get all that information, we'll put it up on the website, make it available, and I'm sure this will be a discussion over the summer. Because nothing on this end would have to go back through a planning board or any of that process of sending it back to the county. This is all incentive zoning agreements and discussion, which are with the town boards, control and authority. So, Mr. Oaks.
Do you want me to come up or no?
Sure, it'd be great. It's just PAC-B can pick it up easy.
Cedric Oaks, born and raised here in Beeville. Speaking probably for my brother and I, the Family Oaks Trust. We have land bordering that, and probably too late, I'm sorry. Why are we having so many apartments? I mean, houses would be bad.
You can't
Because
get,
now you're getting apartments, now you're gonna have different income families in there, and,
well, these are all going to be market rate. There aren't going to be any subsidized, so they're going to be fairly expensive.
I hope so.
Yeah, they will be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't understand, my family's been farming around that for years, and it's good farmland, very good farmland. And I'm just, like I said, I'm late to say why we have so many apartments. I understand growth, but houses, it's a different story. But you guys are butting up apartments up against my mother's property.
Yeah, but we also have a lot of townhouses, which are,
No, I'm saying apartments,
yeah,
not
yeah.
townhouses. Townhouses are different, trust me.
I understand, sir.
I've been here 58 years. I understand what goes on. I've watched a lot of developments
Indeed.
in my age go through.
Indeed.
So I'm just speaking, and I apologize for being late, but I'm just curious why so many apartments. When you have beautiful land, and that's a beautiful hill to look over the city. So, like I said, I'm too late, I apologize. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Oaks. I think part of the density with this project involves the benefits of sewering the peninsula, which, to get to the first part of the Seneca Knolls treatment plant, we need to have the pump station in that area to be able to move the sewage to Baldwinsville, Seneca Knolls. And unfortunately, that pump station to fit the peninsula on what we expect on the current build out would be, it's right now on paper, a $1.7 million project. Put the pump station in with about $80,000 of electrical utilities and connections to get to it. That if we didn't build Melvin Farms, we would still need a pump station that size or have to build it expandable, which would then relay the cost directly to the taxpayers of those districts. So this project's not easy. It's not done yet. We have not seen the cost analytics on it. Mr. Yeager's been asked to provide the sewering breakdowns on estimated costs per units to give us an idea of what would be an affordable charge to the people on the peninsula if we did have the sewers on the peninsula. So we are looking to provide that information because my first glance is if we don't have the density, the per unit payment would be probably $2,000 to $3,000 a year, which would never happen. But we have promised, as Mr. Raymond said today, some of the developments he built on 370, we have dry sewers there that boards well before us, we're talking 25, 30 years ago, had dry sewer systems put in with the intent of running sewers to the peninsula. So we have promised people that are already residents in that area that with that dry sewer system, we have promised them that we would somehow get sewers to the peninsula. So this project with its density is one of those hurdles, and unfortunately it comes with a density that even if we lowered this project, which we've sought grants out, we'll seek grants out again, anything to offset the cost to the taxpayers. But unfortunately, we need the density to make that project work. Yes, Mr. Oaks?
I still pay sewer tax and I don't have sewers.
Correct. Because in that county,
I don't
everybody.
understand the density, apartments, I live.
I don't know, you don't pay sewer tax where you
Yes,
live.
I do,
You pay water.
and it says a sewer tax on it.
Well, your bill.
I believe everybody does, and I don't know why I'm saying it.
Is there a $45 or $50 fee?
Nope. Here, let me pull your parcel up here.
That's a question.
Sure, come up to the microphone, please.
Do I have to?
Yes, just makes it easier.
Can you just show me on the map where the expansion of the sewer is going to be? That's all I was looking for, really. It's
This map only shows, so ultimately, if you're looking at the left side, the
Yeah.
bottom line, the jagged line, the diagonal that goes straight and the diagonal again,
Yeah.
would be the force main service line. And the pump station would sit over here, right where that little spot is. But with that system would then reach up to 370 and then down 370 Amelia Park. Mr. Yeager, Amelia Park and Brick Walk would be the proposed first extensions.
Hicks Road, Amelia Park, and Brick Walk would be the first.
Right, would be the first type, which already have dry sewer systems
Right.
in their developments. Then, on the school district side, we have Palmer School, which is on a septic system, which is in its end of life, which their septic system goes into, somewhat of a wetland area that wouldn't be, you can't rebuild it where it is now. schools had rough estimates of $4 to $5 million to replace that. So the next step of that process, if this was approved, would be to run a sewer line down Hicks Road to the intersection of 370 and Hayes and connect to the capacity that would be given by that pump station. Because if not, the school district has to make a decision of how are they going to get sewers to pump without a project like this. And then we also have a dry sewer area up in that section also.
So the line items on your tax bill, Mr. Oakes, are the county tax, the town tax, the highway tax, the county water tax, which I think is what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Belgian Cold Springs Fire, Valley View Lighting, and Valley View Water District.
I know the water was part of the sewer.
The water,
Totally separate line item.
every resident in town of Lysander, whether they have water or Onondaga County, pays the
The
water.
county water tax,
The
yes.
county water. Because the county can, and I misspoke, I didn't know.
I
But,
know the sewer.
yeah.
No, totally.
Mr. Strusnick, when he came to the meetings, I think complained every year about paying for water. And I think at one point, Mr. Salisbury or Andy Reeves even said he could fill his jug at the fountain at one point to get his county water. But it's not, it's a very large project. It's a different project than what we've been used to. And it's definitely taken a lot of time. This has, been going around for a couple of years.
I wonder if I could ask a question. I want to make sure I understand it correctly, but maybe for the benefit of everybody, I guess Al or Kev, you can answer it. Any of the improvements that you would do for sewers in anywhere, but in this area in particular, I think what we're hearing is this Melbourne project will pay for a lot of it, but if it can never be funded by the general fund, it has to be part of a sewer district.
That's correct.
So that means the general budget of the town of Lysander, even if we wanted to do something with sewers in that part of the town, we can't as part of the general fund. It has to be paid for by the residents. Am I right? That's significant because there's a limited number of residents in that area, and the cost could not be offset by the however many households we have in this town. I just want to make sure that was clear to everybody.
Is there anyone else willing to speak?
To ask a question, you're referring to a sewer district. Is that going to be one-shot deal, or is it going to go piecemeal as you're adding on?
It would probably be piecemeal based on the layout of, the sewering the peninsula would be the main lines from River to Hayes, Hicks.
Right.
So I would recommend we do one large district. However, you wouldn't pay so we're not in end once this is all built out. So we don't have, and the debt service is paid, we don't have another 10 districts within the town. I would suggest you do one overall district, but nobody pays into the district until sewer service is available to them. And then once you're fully built out and all the debt service is paid for each individual section that is constructed, then everybody contributes to long-term maintenance of the pump station and the sanitary sewer mains and manholes going forward.
Just also be aware, though, some of those dry sewer systems that were required are faulty, broken, and need repair already.
I'm not aware of any that need repair. I am aware that there are some that have been tapped into and people are putting sump pumps into, but I'm not aware of any that are...
The ones in front of my house, the county already came in, looked and scoped them out, they had to repair them already.
They haven't done any repairs in any of the mains within the town sewer districts. They haven't even taken maintenance responsibility with the lease yet. So there have been no repairs.
I beg to differ with you on that one, but.
Okay.
When we met with WEP, one of their requirements was they were gonna come and look at the dry systems that had been
Installed
City.
before they were connected.
I know, so the ones in our area are compromised, they're full of water, which maybe the sump pumps, or maybe they're compromised, I don't know which.
Just discovered a sump pump connection a couple weeks ago.
Did you get it taken care of?
Not yet, but it's working on it. Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question?
You've already heard this from me, so I'll keep it brief. My issue is the traffic. You know, that's a lot of density and a lot of cars. We already can't turn left from Hayes Road out onto 370, and it backs up in the morning past the bridge. So you have this traffic is going to back up further past the bridge, probably past Hayes Road, and people are not going to go out at the other end. They're going to take the shortcut by our house, and then we're going to have a traffic jam in front of our driveways. It does not seem like a good plan to me, but I live there, so take that for what it's worth.
Thank you.
Well, just a question. Sorry, I'm kind of new to the whole process, and my house is close by there too, so just kind of learning. And just got a question overall as far as how does the process go? Maybe where are we at right now? And then is the project approved, or does it still need to get approval? And then how is that decision made? And is there any impact that citizens can have on that decision?
Well, this project and this iteration started in May of 2023, the actual presentation. With incentive zoning, what we have said in the areas that we have marked in a red diagonal line, if you look at our planning map over on the court board there, that's an incentive zoning area. So what the town board did in 2014, 2015, replaced this transfer of developments right program that we had that had floundered and put an incentive zoning overlay. So in those areas, you have the current required zoning, which is, I believe, is an AR40 here, that you could build on, no questions asked. AR40, which is 1 acre lots. Mostly standard development with a place with, you know, with enough area to do your own well and septic. We have sewer in this area, so, you know, a larger project. If you did a smaller project, you wouldn't have to ask for sewers. But in incentive zoning, what we have said to developers is you can come in and present something to the board, and we will entertain what would ultimately be a zone change on that property if the town board and the planning board feels that the benefits are in favor of the town. So in this case, you know, we talked about dry sewers, and some of these people have 25, 30 years sporadically around the peninsula. To sewer that area, we finished a sewer study last year, which gave us an estimate of just running the main lines of about $35 million. So obviously, if you took the $35 million across the people who live on the peninsula now, that would be an astronomical annual bill for 20 or 30 years to have, and then you have to pay yourself to hook up to it. So the ask of the developer is, which we covered some of them earlier, what are the benefits? The benefits would be, you know, the benefit of having the pump station put in, which would be a cost to the taxpayers of $1.7 or $8 million if we built that size pump station to cover the capacity that would be expected to be needed. So the developer has also taken about 120 acres off of buildable property on paper and removed it and made it green space. Another 75, 80 acres for the solar farm. Is that 40? Another 40 acres is going to be dedicated to a solar farm. So then that project is now on a smaller lot, which means less infrastructure, less roads to take care of from a town standpoint, less roads to plow, less roads to maintain. Some of these roads are going to be private roads, so they're not going to be maintained by our town. So we won't be plowing them. They're going to have an HOA that will take care of the maintenance on the private roads. So the board's responsibility is, does the benefit outweigh the cost? And that's what the public hearings are for. We send this off to our own planning board, our own zoning board. We send it off to county planning. They look at the project, and they're usually looking at the project not really through the incentive zoning lens. They're looking at it as, does it fit into what the county wants to see? Does it fit into the character of the town? Does it fit into our comprehensive land use plan that we've created and modified a couple of years ago? And we have said in our comprehensive land use plan, you could build AR40, but the roads don't pay for themselves, so you have to do private roads. And usually, so if you wanted single-family homes, they could come to us with a project plan and build 178 homes, and they wouldn't be standing here deciding what they're doing. And I would guess most of those people, you're probably not going to bother to run sewer out there at that point, right, Mario?
The acre lots are almost impossible to develop today, because of the infrastructure that's required and the expense of the infrastructure. Nobody's doing acre lots anymore,
Right.
Just can't do it.
Right,
They're building $700,000 houses and 75-foot lots.
Yeah. And we have water in the area, so they can connect up to water easily, so now you're only worried about a septic system on your property. We've seen a private septic system fail, Whispering Oaks. We went through, the town was under a DC consent order with, sewage going into the river, that we got a $1.3 million grant or so to help with running sewer system out 370 to Whispering Oaks. So it's a matchup of what the developer does the benefit outweigh the cost, and that's up to the people that were elected, the town board here to weigh that decision. And as I've said, this process with this iteration started with 587 units in 2023 and is currently now at about 537 units. So it has decreased. And I can say, as a town board member in 2023, I was totally against this project with the density. And would I like to see something smaller? Sure. I'd love to be able to get it down to 400 units, but that gets into what's the cost to the developer, and they're here to make money. They're not here to just build houses and is a civic duty. So we also have a person here that has come up with probably 5 iterations on this property, which is fine. As a developer, you can keep coming and banging your head against a wall to a town board or a planning board to try to put a project through. But the eye-opener for me was when we got done with the project of the sewer study and the $35 million price tag that isn't going to go down. Every year that doesn't get done, that's going to go up 2 to 4%. So that is not going to be anything that gets cheaper. We have given these areas where they all go into the Seneca River. We're now talking about what, septic and sewage going into the river. And we already know we probably have problems at the bottom end of Hayes Road. And because everybody out there is on septic. So it doesn't take much to do the math when you're looking at 80, 90, 100-year-old homes at the bottom end of that road to have an idea of how old the septic system is. And now with DEC requirements, those people would have to go to a raised bed septic system because they're in a floodplain. And what's an average cost of a raised bed system?
$30,000 to $40,000.
So, we have people in these developments that have dry sewers that have septic systems already that built them knowing that hopefully before that septic system went bad, the town was going to bring sewers out there. And that was a promise I didn't make. That was made, I can't even tell you who was on the board in the mid-90s. That was way before me. But it was a promise made nonetheless. So, I look at it as town supervisor. There are people that I try to protect, the people that have seen it be farmland forever. But I've also got to take into consideration the people that have built homes with the promise that that was going to get done. And we're 25 years in to not getting it done. So, and then we have this, I don't know if you've heard, but I guess Micron might be coming down. So, we have an estimated 60 to 70,000 people if that gets built coming into a 6 or 7 county area with an estimate of half of them landing somewhere in Onondaga County. They're not all coming to the town of Lacey, but I can also say in the few years I've seen of development here and what our housing values have gone up, that we don't have, people can't, there's no way I could afford to build an AR-40. I can't afford to build an $800,000 house. I can't afford to build a $100,000 house. So, you know, the market is pricing our people out of our community, regardless of how we try, you know, the American dream of single-family homes. It's not necessarily the American dream of the people that are moving here. So we have to take all that into consideration. And, you know, it's not an easy process. Everybody here has wrestled with it, and I'm sure they could give their opinions of it also. But, you know, that's where we're at. We're at the public hearing part. We'll probably be here for a couple meetings. And, you know, we'll see when we get our numbers together, and we'll bring that all out publicly. We'll post them on the website, and, you know, we'll adjourn this meeting, and when someone reads it over and wants to make a comment, we'll gladly take it into consideration.
No, thank you for the history. Maybe just one follow-up question. Is there different levels? I'm sure you guys have seen lots of different, you know, plans and proposals. Is there different levels if there's a lot of concern about the density, you know, maybe less sewer investment, or, you know, just the different levels of, you know, can we have it single family with a lower sewer investment? Does that work at all, and maybe not?
Right.
So the bottom line is you're sizing that pump station for the whole Cold Springs Peninsula. Well, yes, you could say you lowered the density on this project to 350 units. Well, that is only a 10% reduction in the size of the capacity of the pump station. So the cost per lot is going to be driven up by that, because you're going to have to spread that. Really, by the time we get to construction, what's going to be a $1.9 million pump station or force main across the cost of 300 lots. And what it's going to do is make those lots unattainable for anybody, because nobody wants to buy a 75-foot lot that costs $150,000. Because the cost to put infrastructure in the ground is very high right now. The cost of construction is very high right now, overall. So from a developer standpoint, it just doesn't make the project profitable in a timely fashion. Yeah, I mean, you could market $150,000 lots that are 75 foot wide, and you'd sell them eventually, but it would take you decades. So the sunk cost of the investment is, you know, when you look at the time value of money, it goes up every year. So that is that's the bottom line, is you have to have a project that generates enough revenue to cover the cost of the pump station and the force main, and remain revenue positive at a price point that is marketable to the community and attainable to the community. I think all of us can agree that a very small percentage of the population can afford a new home right now, when the average new home price is about $700,000 in the town of Lysander. I mean, it's probably less than 10% of the population can afford that caliber of home currently in the town. And like Mario said, it's not an easy sell to sell a $700,000 home on a 75-foot lot. It's a balancing act from an economic standpoint.
Got it. No, appreciate the info, guys.
Brad.
Thank you.
I asked about the school. Where these people are all in middle school? Are they all going to Palmer?
Oh yeah, that's an all
Where?
district for the new development.
We don't know who's going to move in, but
The school's redistricting.
the school,
as well.
right, the school has a long-term plan of redistricting grades with their UPK and their other transitions. I think, which Mr. Barbary, we can ask them. I can reach out to the school district and see if they get an idea. We don't know the demographic, but I can say, I know the one thing we didn't mention for the new people is how many are senior?
140 of these units are senior housing. So those are
55 and over.
55 and over. You're not going to see students coming from those units. What we have seen historically in the town of Lysander is you don't see families going to apartments and townhouses. It's typically young professionals or retirees. So, for example, in Timber Banks, if you look at the number of children per household, it's significantly lower than a community like Radisson or even a Whispering Oaks or one of the more other newer subdivisions in town. And it's because typically, traditionally, by the time you're ready to have children, you're moving to a single-family home. And I think that'll still continue to be the trend. It's just a matter of what you can afford when you're starting out or what you're willing to maintain as you age. I think these units would be very attractive to retirees because HOA is going to take care of everything. They're going to do snow blowing, they're going to do lawn mowing, they're going to do your landscaping every year. Everything will look uniform throughout the development. And especially for people that leave for the wintertime months, essentially we'll have nothing to worry about because somebody else is taking care of all of those exterior maintenance activities for them. So as far as burden on the school district, I think it's minimal. And with that being said, we've seen reduced enrollment in the school district over the past decade. So our school district isn't growing, it's shrinking from an enrollment standpoint.
And it's growing because we pre-K.
Yeah.
Yes, it's grown because of the additional pre-K.
Yeah, they've got no room over at
But their school also, Mr. Moore is a teacher over at Brown.
Yeah. Right? Am I right?
You are right.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I know the school has a long-term plan of redistricting age groups. I think the last plan I heard was K through, UP K through 4 would be the elementary schools now, and 5, 6 would be Ray, and then 7, 8, 9, I believe, over at Durkee when they do the additions at Durkee.
But that's not really a town decision.
Right.
Whole district, I think that's a school district decision.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Al?
Yes.
I'm Barb.
Hi, Barb.
Hi.
I've only spoken to your husband and talked to your husband multiple times and never talked to you.
Oh, the cell phone, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you got your cell phone.
That's okay.
Okay. If it's possible, you know where we live?
Yep.
Backside of the lot there. Is there a map where I could see where the plan is versus where
Yeah.
our house is, or?
Do you have the overall? Yes. Keep going.
I don't think I have any maps in this project that cover
I
that.
think I see it. Is it?
No, this is if it was built out.
Yeah, but you can see where Amelia Park is. Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, it's even further to the right.
Okay. The walking path that was suggested, where is that?
On the west side of this development, so on the opposite side of where your project is, or your home is. So this map, we'll use the cork board. So this project is these parcels here. Here's your neighborhood. This parcel here where the field is along 370, that's just before you, if you're heading eastbound towards your neighborhood. That's here. The walking path is going to be in the woods over here. Yeah. So the sewer would extend through the open farmland. The pump station would be here, through the open farmland and connected to your neighborhood here.
Okay.
So as far as where it's going to be, there'll be over 100 acres separating your neighborhood from where this is going.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say, well, I really haven't been paying attention to this until now, but a use case scenario for wanting apartments, nice apartments, and not like unaffordable either. I mean, not astronomical in cost. You know, my husband's dad died earlier this year. We're originally from Auburn, and his mom is trying to take care of the house. And, you know, originally we thought it may help her get into like a patio home over at Timberbanks or something like that. It's like
Yes.
triple the cost of what it, you know, and everything's high. So, you know, trying to look for,
The senior apartments would be ideal for a situation like
Yeah.
that. That's an ideal, that is the demographic that will be attracted to those units.
right? So senior apartments, yes, but then we also have two nieces that are living, you know, they're older, they're living with my mother-in-law. And, you know, we're kind of looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental, because, and something where we don't have to, you know, buy a whole house.
Yeah.
Get a house that,
We don't have that option in Lysander right now.
no, we don't.
We
don't.
There are no
There's
available
nothing
apartments,
in
there are
the
no,
Syracuse area.
yeah,
or
there is
anything.
zero inventory in that frame.
Yeah, and also like 1-story living, so.
Well, there's townhouses. I know of some townhouses that have 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
But they're they're 2 stories.
No,
So, you know,
yes, they are.
Yeah.
they're 2 stories.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're looking for like, you know, she's 70 and stuff,
Yeah.
her knees are getting bad and stuff, but then,
This,
The problem that you have is if you spread it out over one floor,
yeah.
it becomes
costs.
very expensive.
Yeah,
And now you're paying $4,000 a month in rent.
yeah. Try to do 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 bedroom downstairs. Just a thought.
you're not the first person that said that to us.
Yeah.
And it is something that the developer has talked about as something, if it's attainable, he would try to do something like that in the townhouse units.
Okay,
It's architecturally, it's not an easy ask.
yeah. Okay, and so I really would love to hook up to the sewer one day. It's like wetlands where, and it seems like it's maybe even getting worse in the area. And the area behind our house is actually gonna stay, like, no one can build on that. It's like unbuildable, right?
Where yours is, yes, the land trust has purchased that land that's immediately behind.
Right. Were they still gonna try to grow trees there?
Yes, they are.
Yes, chestnut trees is our understanding.
That would probably help with the soil and the water, maybe?
You have really poor soils in that neighborhood that just don't drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get continuous rains or back-to-back rains, the soil just doesn't absorb the water, and the lawns are, you know, they don't have a lot of slope to them.
Right.
So your lawns end up soggy. Unfortunately, your septic systems also end up soggy because of the same condition.
Yes. I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Didn't our sewer, our dry sewer fill with water? Didn't you tell me that we had to have it pumped out by the town several
Yep.
times?
We was on the phone with them.
Yeah, we pump it every year. And like I said, I just actually found a house that I believe has an illegal connection that we will address. But no matter what, any sewer, you know, it's not like manhole lids are watertight. So any water that sits on a manhole lid or near a manhole, it's going to find its way in, and it's going to flow to the lowest point in the system, which unfortunately is next to her house.
I live next door.
Yeah. So that's just a fact of life. All sewers have some amount of inflow and infiltration.
Well, the question, I guess, the concern would be if that's a low point that's getting filled, if you turn it into actual sewers, will it be a backup and then we're going to have sewage in our lawn? Like, that's
No, that's the intent of, you put gravity, you know, gravity works in your favor. Once there's a relief point at the low end, it'll flow to the pump station, and the pump station will pump it back uphill to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
Where can I see the the plans for the developer, or the developer's plans?
That's the drawing.
They're available on the website also.
Yes.
If you type in Melvin Farms, we actually have like a notice that has all of these drawings and the notice.
They're very poor copies. They're hard to read, you can barely read them. They're like someone scanned it off a fax and printed a digital copy.
It's the file size is so large, and the way our server works, if we put high resolution images on, it'll take a long time for it to open on your machine. If you'd like to see it, you're more than welcome to come into the town board, the town offices. We do have paper copies you can look at.
Print them offline, but they're like, the scanned copies.
Yeah, it's not gonna, it is a scan, so that's why they call
It is, and it really is a file size, because it's large format. It's an E-size sheet. It's a 36 by 48 sheet. When you do a high resolution scan, it is a huge file that will.
Maybe you can zip it down and then put it up, so if someone wants to download it and has the ability to open it, they can.
Well, we'll see if the developer can get us a better.
We can certainly zip it and
Email it.
yeah, that'd be fine.
Is it like full-blown like architectural plans?
No, this is preliminary site plan at this point in time. It's not
Okay, it's not
full-blown.
design.
No, yeah, it's
No,
not
because-
home design plans yet, no.
If the project was approved through the town board, the project approves it, the town board would approve if it was approved. The town board would approve the project at the.
Maximum density.
The maximum density. Then the planning board would come through
And do full site plan
and
development.
do the work that the planning board does. And that may change what could be presented there. It wouldn't get any denser. It may, they may decide that this wouldn't fit. And, you have to take this building out, and then the
Or
developer.
move the building someplace else, or adjust where the stormwater pond is.
That's a planning board function.
The town board's function here really is, this is what the maximum density will allow for these benefits. And then the planning board will go through their normal site plan review process of how this lays out, how the stormwater management system is constructed, how the sanitary sewer and lot grading is constructed. And then from there, a full set of site development plans would be generated.
As far as driving, and someone brought up the traffic being a concern. So the outlet from the plan there, there's one road that goes out to 370, or
Yep.
how many different ways can you get out of the?
From the multifamily units, you have 3 different exit points, 2 onto Hayes Road and 1 north onto 370.
Okay.
And then the developer would be what the state DOT has asked, county DOT is turn lanes on 370 for Hayes and Hicks. So where the light is now,
There'd be left-hand turn
there would be
lanes.
left-hand turn lanes to be
Okay.
able to access Hayes
About
Road
that.
coming from, heading west, or access Hicks Road coming from out of the village.
Okay.
Be 2 left turn lanes there. So that light would then be upgraded to have a directional turn lane as opposed to just a green light now.
Would there be like other lights or considerations to put more like lights on other streets, like down on 370 or?
That's ultimately a New York State DOT or county DOT decision, because we don't control those roads as a town entity. At this point in time, a traffic study has been done that has done an analysis of the River Road, Hayes Road intersection, the 370 John Glenn intersection, in the 5 corners at River, Patchett, and Hicks, and the 5 corners there, where the hallway stop is. The only recommended traffic improvements at this time for the county, state, and state DOT are the left-hand turn lanes on 370 for east and westbound traffic.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's.
And we're gonna adjourn the public hearing tonight. So if you have more questions, you're more than welcome to email them to us, or even come to the next meeting. You don't have to think of it all tonight.
All right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
My name's Roger Thomas. I'm the grandson of Warren Melvin, great-grandson of Robert C. Melvin, the original owner of the property. I just want you to know that it's a tough one. I understand you got a tough job ahead of you. The plus is that the woods be trails. My mother grew up on the corner there. That was her childhood home. For the last 25 years, she's had to look at that house fall in, and that's a terrible thing. I don't know how it was livable at the time it was sold to the first developer. I understand he went through some problems, but to see that fall in and then barns fall in, I don't understand why that was allowed to happen. My mom's 90, almost 97. She's got another week to live. Hopefully she'll never be able to see this development come through. But I understand you got a tough job. But I know every square foot of that property. I grew up there. I was there 2 years after college, milking cows, before I went on my own. But there is a face with that. We are kind of glad that you're keeping Melvin Farms name to go with. But I don't know what your plans are for the 7 acres of the house and the barns, but something's got to be done there.
It's a separate.
So I know,
separate owners, yeah.
so I do have a quarter interest in the Thomas Family Trust, which is about 3 acres at 3280 Cold Springs Road. Now, I think you were going to work on a kind of a profile to see what it would look like as viewing from 370.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay. Because we've got to make a decision here in the next few months whether what we're going to do with that property, whether somebody, one of the siblings, will buy the rest of them out. But we kind of want to know what we're looking at in our backyard when we get done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will adjourn the public hearing. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:27 p.m.? All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. I don't know if anybody wants to take a minute. I know we're going to sit here an hour. Mario, thank you for attending. Yep. We'll be in touch.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. If there's any citizens wishing to make a comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name.
Joseph Breer. Just wanted to touch on something before I read my other paper. Something that was brought up during the work session. Let me get this straight. You're telling me we have a sprinkler system that hasn't been inspected in years, but you spend tens of thousands of dollars on a camera system that doesn't alarm, notify, or protect? And an employee in charge of that town building, he was appointed by you guys, right?
No personnel issues.
That's what I think. Good evening. My name is Joseph Breer, and I work for the Town Highway Department as an MEO. I'm here tonight to express serious concerns about the growing lack of transparency and fairness coming from this board, especially in regard to surveillance, especially in regard to the surveillance practices at the Highway Department and the treatment of our Highway Superintendent, John Butler. Not long ago, security cameras were installed in the shop work area and inside the office spaces at the Highway Department. When questioned, Supervisor Rhodes stated these cameras were for insurance purposes to catch things like fire, theft, or workplace injuries. But let's be honest about what these cameras actually do and don't do. According to Doyle Security, the company responsible for these systems, the cameras do not detect fire, they do not alert the fire department, and they do not notify anyone in case of a break-in or emergency. In their own words, if a fire broke out on Friday night, you'd be able to watch it burn on camera until the equipment melted off the wall. That's not safety, that's surveillance theater. If someone broke in over the weekend, no one would know until Monday morning. There are no alarms, no alert to the police, no active monitoring, so these cameras aren't making anyone safer, protecting any assets. And when it comes to workplace injuries, most of the work happens out on the road, on job sites, where there are no cameras at all. That's where the risk is, not in the office or the shop. So let's call it what it really is, surveillance of employees, not protection. What the cameras do capture, however, are things that have no business recording. They show employees entering and exiting the bathroom. They monitor someone's private office space. This is an invasion of privacy, and it crosses a line. At the last town board meeting, Supervisor Rose showed a video footage of Superintendent Butler turning off the cameras in the highway department. He did this without informing John, and he did it in the public, with no opportunity for John to respond. That's not leadership, that's political ambush. Let's also be clear, John Butler is the elected position as head of the highway department. As the superintendent, he is the boss of the building and the employees in it. Turning off unmonitored, unnecessary, and intrusive cameras was within his rights and in defense of his team's dignity and privacy. Board member Pete Moore made a comment that if he shut off the cameras in the school that he works, he'd be out of a job. But Pete isn't an employee of the school district. John is the boss of this department. That is a critical difference. And it is a difference that this board seems determined to ignore. In fact, multiple former highway superintendents have gone on record stating that they would have never had allowed these cameras in the first place, and that John absolutely had the right to turn them off. The board's behavior reflects not a desire for collaboration, but an effort to micromanage and undermine. That's especially troubling given the timing right before the special election, when the board is actively pushing to change the highway superintendent from an elected position to an appointed one. Make no mistake, this is part of the same effort: discredit the current elected official, remove public oversight, concentrate more power within the board. Let me be clear, allowing the highway superintendent position to become appointed will be a serious mistake. It removes accountability to the voters. It opens the door to favoritism and political influence in a role that needs independence and hands-on experience. The public deserves leaders who are elected, not selected. And employees deserve a workplace that respects their privacy and doesn't use camera footage as a weapon. Thank you for your time, and I urge this board to start respecting the people who keep this town running.
Mr. Breer, did your union address the security cameras?
Yeah, we did.
What did they say?
Too bad.
So
you said too bad.
Your union
You said too bad.
is okay with the security camera?
No, we're not okay with it. We have been okay from day one.
Well, your business rep told me he thought it was set, so I guess it's not.
And you also said that the business rep sent me a letter stating that we'd be fired if we didn't show up to work. Why don't you produce that letter?
No, what I said was, if you failed to come to your job.
When did we ever say we weren't coming to work?
Yet again, when you said you weren't going to answer your cell phones on January 1st.
That doesn't, not answering the cell phone doesn't say.
So how are we?
The contract says if we don't choose to use our cell phone, you will supply pagers. Does it not say that?
And what did your business rep say?
What did it say?
He said you had to give us, and you had to give us adequate time, which you weren't.
You had 3 days. I gave you the guy's cell phone number. He said he'd have him in an hour. I proved it. I pulled the number up. You didn't want to call him.
Right, and then when I
proved you're wrong.
Then when I proved that it was a prepayment, not a reimbursement, you went around and collected checks from every highway.
When has the town ever prepaid?
And he was wrong because I showed your business rep the information and he agreed.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Keep-
your
keep
union,
your line.
your
Keep your
union
line.
is not supporting you,
Yeah.
which is the email, what it's
No, the
stating.
town board keeps targeting the highway department.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Really?
No.
How about why don't I play some recordings of you, Rhodes? Why don't we do that? How about I bring the paperwork in from the negotiations where you targeted me on? How about that?
Targeted you for doing union responsibilities?
Union to collect dues? That's done by the town. It's been done from day one.
It doesn't mean it has to be. Right? That was a negotiation, correct, that you're bringing up?
You didn't have that in the beginning of negotiations. You added that because you kept on getting...
I added it when you decided to not answer your cell phones, which
No,
everybody
I didn't
told
say
you would
that.
happen on January 1st?
No, I didn't say that.
So when Mr. Sweetak
You
and
kept
I
adding
came in
stuff
on January 1st.
even up to the day before we
the
signed
MEOs
the
did not
contract, you
say
tried to add
that
stuff.
they were
Did
gonna
you
not answer
Did
their
you
cell
not try
phones
to
to
add
call
stuff?
in?
Did you not try to add stuff the day before we signed? I'll take that silent that says, yeah, I did.
Mr. Breer, you should give both sides of the story, because
Anytime anybody wants to hear the recordings of you calling me on a Saturday when I'm investigating a park incident with your non-union people doing union work, you called me and
which was
screamed at
really
me.
successfully.
You screamed at me and swore at me, told me I wasn't allowed at the park. I'm a taxpayer in this town too. I'll go to the damn park when I want.
No, I said you're not supposed to harass the park employees.
How is asking them if what they're doing is harassing?
When you walk up to an employee and tell them they're not supposed to be
Just
touching
like
their
I
cell
did
phone?
workplace violence and I put diesel fuel in the creek. How did that work out for the town? It was all dropped, right? Nothing, right? You targeted me. He targeted me. And I got it on record and in writing.
I'll say, yeah, you know what? It certainly appears that you called it in.
Yeah, I
And
called
you
it in
never
because
tell-
your lack of freaking guy who was running this town failed to clean it up for 2 weeks.
All right, enough.
So,
Listen,
so
no,
explain.
it's too much. Everybody's violating the rules right now. We really shouldn't be engaging in interpersonal discussions, all right? We just shouldn't be doing it in a public comment.
Okay.
Okay? Because the reality is other people are gonna get up, make public comments. Enforcing the rules that we have in place against them should be, we're just gonna enforce them against everybody.
Okay.
And that includes during the comments made by the public.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to citizens' comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to town board comments. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I would like to thank everyone who came here today and shared their opinions during our public hearings. It was great dialogue to hear people coming up here. And you would notice there were a few, if you're watching, you notice there were a few different opinions on what's going on in our community, but it was all respectful to a point. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the people who come here and share their opinions respectfully. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who took the time to come here as well.
That was well said. This decision we're going to have to make on Melvin Farms is not going to be an easy one. Hearing thoughtful opinions from people really is a helpful thing to me, and I'm sure the other members of the board. Thank you.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out and voicing their opinion, especially on this project. It's a hard decision either way, right? I mean, people are going to like you if you vote on, yes. People are going to like you if you don't. It's a tough decision, shaping the landscape of Lysander as we know it. So I appreciate everyone's comments and keep bringing them up. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to supervisors' comments. First thing I had was from Barbara Priest, was asking to have this read for the woodworkers. The woodworkers of Central New York are the June featured artists at the Belleville Public Library. The display of over 80 different projects will be in the library's central area for the month of June. In addition to its variety of smaller projects, the display includes a large collection of touchable toys that kids of all ages can play with while at the library. Stop by, see the collection from a small fragment of the talented club members. The club holds its meetings in the town of Lysander, Belgium Hut Firehouse, and Beaver Lake Nature Center, but includes almost 300 members from all around, mostly central New York, with other members from many different areas of New York State, as well as 6 states. Check out our website at woodcny.org to learn more about the club and its various community service activities and demonstrations. For example, members will be demonstrating non-electrified woodworking at the Float and Folk Festival at Chittenango Landing Boat Museum on June 14th. Thanks, Barbara Priest, Secretary of the Woodworkers of Central New York. Other items I have, National Grid reached out. They are going to be reaching out to different property owners. He had given me the contact at National Grid because I asked about fraud, because I'm sure that they said they contacted the county ledge to also inform people. My concern with fraud in this day and age, we have his cell phone number. So if you receive a phone call or an email or a letter from National Grid and you want to verify that it's real, call National Grid, but the easier thing would be to call your county legislator or call town hall, and I can give you his personal cell phone to verify that, you know, they are reaching out to property owners. What they're looking to do over the next year or so is talk to property owners about their increase in capacity and looking for property for substations and other things that they will need to come online with the anticipation of the electric motives of our state and with the Micron development in the area. So just want to inform people, he believes it's going to be National Grid employees. They may even come to your house. So don't be alarmed, but be vigilant. Next item, Town Hall. We started our summer hours this week, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, Friday, 8:30 to 1:30. Don't forget, in case you didn't know, Monday, June 9th, we have our special election on appointment or election, keeping it elected for highway superintendent. That is, you can vote at either location as long as you're a registered voter. You should have got the mail in the mail. June 9th, Monday, from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can vote at either location. Lysander Town Hall right here in this room, or Beaver Lake Nature Center. Beaver Lake Nature Center will be free to access it for the voting purposes, so you don't have to worry about paying. Just wanted to remind people, because we'll be off Seneca River Days next weekend, 13th and 14th. That is all I have for right now. Department head reports. Town attorney.
Nothing at this time.
Town engineer.
Nothing.
Town clerk's office.
No, I think voting equipment is arriving tomorrow?
Yep. Yeah.
Will they be coming in the morning?
They're coming sometime in the afternoon, but I'll be here. So we'll set that up, and actually our tax receiver, she has a person she knows in Browns, so we'll be informed when they're coming. Highway supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Butler.
Everything's almost been swapped once so far. We're out ditching, cleaning catch basins, we started our paving, so you'll see us out there working.
Okay, thank you. I think we got Anne Marie. She already started, right?
Yes.
Was it? Now we have Monday. Did she start Monday or?
No, she did not. She had health things she had to take care of.
June 3rd?
She did not start Monday.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. We'll just get that because that
seems to be a good fit.
Good, great.
Our other guy seems to be a really good fit. The one that started Monday, so.
Good. Yes.
He's got some knowledge.
Mr.
So.
Seymour, right?
Yeah.
Great. No.
He seems to have some knowledge. He was at Town of Granby for 18 years.
Great.
So.
Very good.
Hopefully we can put him right in the trough.
Yeah. So. Excellent. Thank you. I just wanted to verify the start date because that's a retard.
Yeah, she called me Sunday night and said she had.
Yeah, no problem.
So.
No big deal. Glad to see you got a mostly full crew now.
Yep.
On the
other
yeah. Good.
It's getting along well, so.
Good.
They brought something to the table, so.
Excellent. Thank you. Next item on the agenda items. Hey, I'd like to get a motion to adopt a local law under Chapter 102-7 of the town code, Tier 2 battery energy storage in the town of Lysander. This moratorium will be extended to September 20th, 2025.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Councilman Moore for the second. Discussion, A and B are items that we've extended the moratorium. We are going to come up with a more concise battery energy storage law in the next month here to be able to send that along down the road. And we'll be probably getting the solar farm when the next one and get through that before September. All in favor?
Aye.
All yes, motion carried. Motion B, I'd like to get a motion to adopt a local law under Article 29 to extend the moratorium on solar farms in the town of Lysander. This moratorium will be extended to September 20th, 2020.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion, same as before. All in favor?
Aye.
All yes, motion carried. Motion C, I'd like to get a motion to refer the proposed Lysander code updates to the town of Lysander Planning and Zoning Boards and to the Onondaga County Planning Board for its recommendations.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion, these are updates to our local codes and laws that we've had for the last month and a half. We've all had a chance to look at them, so now the next step is referring them to the county and our boards to come back with communication, and if hopefully we won't have to make any changes or we go back through the process. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes. Motion carried. Motion D, I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to execute the engagement letter with Smith Sovic litigation attorneys for legal representation in the matter of Sebastian McFadden Schmidt versus the town of Lysander et al. This authorization is contingent upon the total legal expenditures exceeding $25,000.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Discussion. This is just a retainer. We have insurance coverage up to $25,000 for legal fees. The insurance company has picked this firm, and this is in case we go over that, they require a retainer sign. All in favor?
Aye.
All yes. Motion approved. Motion E, I'd like to get a motion to hold a special town board meeting on Thursday, June 26th. Work session begins at 5:30 and the regular meeting begins at 6:30.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. June 19th is Juneteenth, so that is a federal holiday, so we will be closed. We are going to meet on June 26th instead because we don't meet on July 3rd, being around July 4th and the holiday. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, motion passed. Motion F, I'd like to get a motion to appoint Anne Marie Jackson as MEO in the Highway Department with an hourly rate as per the union contract with a starting date of June 3rd, 2025.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion, talk to the highway superintendent about the hire. We're finally back to pretty much full force. Looks good. Hopefully everything goes great. Seeing the work we're doing so far, looks excellent. We appreciate it. Finally got some summer weather out there.
Doing a lot.
We thank you. Does anyone else have anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes, motion carried. Motion G, I'd like to get a motion to declare the brown couch, tag number 936, surplus from the highway department.
I'll move it.
Councilor Gerasi, Councilor Kourakis is a second. Discussion. It's lived its life, I assume?
Yes. I didn't even know what was going on.
I assume Alicia put it on.
Probably, it's probably the one in that box in there.
Okay. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All yes, motion approved. Motion H, and just so the public knows, the next two motions are for summer aides at the Parks Department. Their attendants, they help out with, as Mr. Merrill had told me previously in the work session, they're to help out with different programs. They're going to work a couple hours here and there. H and I. I'd like to get a motion to appoint Tyler Nobles as summer aide in the Parks and Rec Department at a rate of $15.50 per hour with a starting date of May 11th, 2025.
I'll move it. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, motion carried. Motion I. I'd like to get a motion to appoint Reagan Wasilick as summary to the Parks and Rec Department at a rate of $15.50 per hour with a starting date of June 8, 2025.
I'll move that. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All yes, motion carried. We will not have an executive session tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn the board meeting at 7:50 PM?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.